But there's an interesting market, and it's unique to China that you need to know about. That is, since the banks are the principal form of funding in China, because the bond market and the stock markets are kind of closed unless you have official permission to issue bonds or stocks, and most companies don't. So there are a lot of companies that are private, actually private, and I'm not sure exactly how a private company gets done in China. It's somewhat shady, but it gets done, and it basically works like this. There are many companies, as I said, there are some state-owned companies, and then there are town and village, TVE, town and village enterprises, that are owned by the local towns and counties. Now, these have also been losses. These are also have often had major losses. And the towns and the counties are saying, gosh, our budgets are getting squeezed. We've got this brick factory. We've got this pork processor. We got this cement company. What do we do with it? You know, it's just losing money, and we can't get out of this. So some guy, or woman, I guess, comes along and somehow says, look, I'll give you X number of dollars, or yuan, to buy this company and take it off your hands. You won't have any losses anymore, and I'll take care of it. And how that person had the political clout to make that bid, or where they came up with the money, even though Chinese savings are prodigious, and so maybe it's not too difficult to come up with that kind of money. But in any case, that person got control of that factory. And so then started growing it, probably cut employment significantly to be profitable, grew it, made money, and suddenly gets to the point and says, I need more money to expand. I want to go national. I'm in 1 or 2 provinces. I need to go to all of them. And so how do I do that? Well, you can't do the stock market or the bond market. So some enterprising American investment bankers, not Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, because these are smaller size companies, went over and said, look, we will take your company, we'll bring it to the U.S., we will find a shell company, a company that's got a name and a registration but no assets. We'll buy that for you, we'll dump your assets into this shell company, we'll get some private equity or hedge funds to put up $20 million to give you some, the capital, some more capital that you need, and we'll list you on NASDAQ, or maybe the Bulletin Board, which is the junior NASDAQ, or the American Stock Exchange, which is the junior exchange. And then as you get bigger, we'll list you on the national market, OTC, or over-the-counter market. And so these companies, which are not traded in China at all, are private companies. I mean, everything is state-influenced in China. Nobody is not state-influenced, but these are privately owned companies listed only in the United States with a U.S., complying with all the NASDAQ regulations, board of directors, accounting firms, Sarbanes-Oxley, all that kind of stuff, are suddenly listed here. And how many are there? There are 175 now, these companies. Unbelievable. Nobody had ever thought of this. The only country that has more of companies like this listed in the U.S. is, it's interesting for a toss-up, Israel. Israel has a ton of high-tech companies. Israel has just a slew of interesting software solutions kind of companies that are listed on NASDAQ. And China and Israel are the 2 big ones. So it's interesting. So these 175 trade here. And these are not the big insurance company, bank, steel company. These are often consumer companies, auto supply companies, people supplying motors or drives or gearboxes or pork products to supermarkets, or what else, or fire and security stuff for steel plants. These are not the big guys. These are the people like at Fidelity. Peter Lynch used to run the Magellan Fund. He used to say that when they yelled gold rush, don't go out and buy gold. Go out and buy the gold mining pan companies, the things that everybody needs. Don't buy Nissan, Toyota, General Motors in China. Buy the people that are supplying this or that little component. They're flying way under the radar screen. Nobody sees them or knows them or cares about them. They're not they're not the nail that needs to get hammered down, but they're supplying everybody in the system. So these are those kind of companies. And so there are 175 of these, and you can do quite a bit in that consumer sector, from advertising to online gaming, which the Chinese are manic about, to food, to auto supplies, to, to infrastructure plays, to wind power, everything. Not perfectly, and you are buying a company. Remember, these companies have come over from China. These managers, these owners, are not dumb. They know how to make money, or have proven to make money. But they're suddenly listed on NASDAQ, and you can probably ask yourself, what do these people actually think about Sarbanes-Oxley and shareholder transparency? Do they shake their heads and say, what the hell is this? Why are we paying millions of dollars to lawyers to comply with this? In China, we would just do it. If you want to invest in our company, then you follow me. And here we have to do all these crazy things. So you wonder what these people actually think of all our regulations and the things. But in any case, they are here, and it's an interesting way to do it. Now, you can invest in these companies directly, because they're traded just on NASDAQ, just like you buy Oracle or Intel or Microsoft. Or you can do it through a mutual fund, which are now more and more springing up to cater. I saw yesterday in the paper there was an ETF for emerging market consumer plays, and that's an interesting. So there are going to be more and more things in this nature. So this is an interesting idea, and the problem is, or the advantage is, China is the only country with this kind of range of stuff. Most other emerging countries, India, Brazil, places like that, would have your typical top 10 or 20 stocks traded in the U.S. The big power company, the big phone company, the big bank, and some interesting consumer plays. India, for instance, has been very strong in outsourcing of business outsourcing, as we know, companies like Infosys and Tata and Satyam having big problems, but companies like that, they would be listed here. But India probably only gives you about 10 or 15 choices, and nothing in that beautiful consumer products play the way these Chinese companies give you. So it is a little frustrating. Now, you could go to some of these countries and buy directly in their markets, but it's terribly time-consuming, cumbersome, and often expensive. You could buy directly in Brazil if you established a relationship with a Brazilian broker, but that requires a lot of money to make it practical. India is like China. It's closed to non-native Indians. Theoretically, you can't buy local shares in India if you're a foreigner. So there are restrictions like that. Taiwan's the same thing. Let me just mention Taiwan, then I'll open it up for questions.